Good morning, guys. Morning, Robbie.
Morning, mate. How are you today?
Morning, Charlie.
Morning, morning.
Great day today, guys. Today, we finally get going with a game of two halves. Good name come up with by Charlie. Just going to be
Yeah.
a satirical look at football. Robbie's a Chelsea fan. I'm a West Ham fan. Charlie's a Man United fan. But everybody, and anybody that wants to come on here, discuss their club, talk about anything but football, please do. We're hoping to get up with between one and two videos a week, talking on a mound of different subjects. I see what happened to Xabi Alonso this week at Real Madrid. Now, we all know that Real Madrid is a bit of a nutcase owner, that Florentino Perez. But I see him give his half-time team talk when they played in that Super Cup. Not one of the players listened to him, not one. And they all walked out, all because apparently he'd fallen out with that Vinicius Jr. And obviously the game after, he got the sack. My question is really, what sort of managers now really should be running football clubs? When I look back at the likes of the Mourinho at Chelsea, Ferguson at United, to a degree, Moyes at West Ham, Shankly when he was at Liverpool, all the managers that was great disciplinarians, Arsene Wenger, look what he done. He revolutionised football entirely, I think. Do we need managers now that are disciplined, or do we need managers that can stroke people's egos, Charlie?
I think to a certain degree, yeah. I think there's a lot more player power than there ever was before. I think the disciplinarians is almost kind of gone from the game in a way. I mean, you look at Mourinho, never really changed his ways, but no top club's going to go near him now, are they? Like, wouldn't say he's finished, but I think in terms of how he sees the game and how he treat players and stuff. But I think, a different side of it, I kind of remember a few years back, John Terry, I think he was when he was assistant manager at Villa, and he said there was a player on the pitch, not really doing much, whatever else. So he went to the manager, he went, shall I go get involved in the game and go and absolutely take him out? And the manager went, no, like, go over to him and put your arm around him. No, talk to him, see if he's all right, see if anything's going on. And that just kind of sums up, doesn't it, really? How changing it is, really.
Robbie?
Yeah, I agree there with Charlie. It's the whole, I don't know if it's a culture thing or what, they are babied, a lot of them. And there needs to be a balance. When we talk about like original Mourinho or Ferguson and that, and they could probably be a lot more aggressive because the players knew that guy was in charge. And I think now that guy isn't in charge. He's just a coach. My club are doing it. United are doing it at the minute. A lot of clubs are. It's just a coach that can go. It's like, I don't know, you've got a driver or something. Oh, we'll just get a new one. Well, and they think they've got a system. My thing is with a manager, I love old-fashioned managers. I think sometimes you need a guy that's going to balance when to shout and when to put their arm around them. But that should be the manager's decision. He should know the players, what character they've got, what works, what doesn't. That's in every job you do when you manage people. You've got to motivate them, and you've got to learn how to motivate them. So I think some of these old guys wouldn't work because clubs have a new idea, a system that's there, and they just have to fit. The Alonso one is, it not made me laugh in a sense as the guy lost his job, but they were all out to get him because every club was looking at him, and then they boot him 6 months later. So it doesn't make a lot of sense, does it, anymore?
No, I agree with you. We had someone come in called Julian Lopetegui. A lot of the fans didn't want him at West Ham, but he come in and he was supposed to be a bit of a disciplinarian, and he actually nearly had physical altercation with four players. I think it was Alvarez, Tobido, Caduce, and one other. Now, what that did, it split the dressing room, And for me, if I was an owner of a club, one thing should happen. You back the manager once that altercation cut. I don't mind them doing it behind locked doors. Say like, I wanted to fall out of a manager. I went and opened his door. Listen, I want to talk to you, but not in front of the other players. I think at that point, the director should go to the player or the manager. Right, I'm backing you out, because I think what's that done for West Ham is it split the dressing room. After people, Bowen had to go and try and be on the manager's side, And I don't think he's a great captain, by the way. And I think it causes a load of discord. So I think with the owners, if you're bringing a manager in, if you're bringing one in, then back him to the hill. You had this situation with Man United, I think, 2 weeks ago, where earlier on in the season, Amorim was looking to buy Semenyo, wasn't he? You know, and it never happened. And now he's gone, and sort of like Carrick, Fletcher, they want a centre midfielder. But they're still looking for a left winger, what Amorim wanted, which they didn't want to get Amorim, you know. And do you think Amorim got a fair crack at the whip at Charlie? Because everyone wanted Amorim when he come from Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
I do think he got a fair crack at the whip. I think, you know, if you look at other clubs, you look at Madrid and Chelsea, right? So, I mean, even under Abramovich, Chelsea had no problem getting rid of a manager, did they? And even under these new owners, you know, I don't think he would have lasted that long. I really don't, you know. I think he probably would have gone maybe even after the Europa League final. I think, to be honest, I do think it's partly on the managers these days. Managers seem to be so fixated on systems and the way they play that the moment they go into a club, if the players don't like it, that's it. You know, they've got absolutely no chance. And I don't think the players ever kind of took to the way he played, whether it was the system, whether it was how he wanted them to play. I mean, you know, yesterday was a prime example. Some of the one-touch football we played, getting out of tight spaces yesterday, it was like Carrick just said to him, go play football. Whereas, you know, maybe there was just too many instructions under Amorim, which can happen, especially with a modern-day manager. I do think they are instructed to within an inch of their lives. And I think for a lot of players, they don't like it and they struggle.
Do you agree with that, Robbie?
Yeah, I do. In a sense, I do there with this overcoaching. I've written down here algorithms and statistics and stuff. And you're talking about people. It's not a car engine or a computer. I do think some of it they're coached out. I heard I read it last year, I think, or the year before. It was Ancelotti, and they said to him, "What do you tell that junior to do on the pitch?" He went, "Nothing. I just tell him to play." He said, "How can I coach him? I just want him to play football." And that's like the opposite to what we're talking about. If you've got, where's your? I'm, you know, my son is 9 years old. He's not a massive football fan, and he gets bored. Whereas we grew up watching and going, and there was maybe our teams weren't great, but the passion was there and the fun was there. He gets bored because it's quite rigid. Mm. Where's the last player? Like we had Hazard, Ronaldinho, people like that. They coach all the fun out of them.
So, no, I agree with you. I think if you look round the leagues in general, there's no flair, is there? You know, I mean, it doesn't matter, you know, obviously West Ham's my team, but like I always say to people, if I had to give you all any money you wanted, night out, 500 quid spending money, which team would you like to watch this year? And really, there's no team. Yes, Arsenal winning the league at the moment. They drew with Forest, but no one sort of sticks out for you. I think with systems, I think let's remember that everyone wanted Amorim. Yeah, you know, there was every West Ham channel wanted Bruno Amorim, and he come over, and they reckon it was Sullivan. He leaked to the press that he was coming because he didn't want to pay him all the money. They took pictures. He got absolutely smashed, didn't he? Back in Portugal, that he'd come interview for a job when he had a job. Do you think if you want to bring in players like Amorim, that you have to have players for systems? I mean, it's a bit like I always go on about the goalkeepers. You know, like goalkeepers now, they need to play as sweepers. Now, if you're brought up playing a lot of one-touch football with your feet, controlling the ball with your feet, goalkeepers can do that. If you're going back to our years ago when goalkeepers just did saves, and they did where they stood at free kicks, where they stood at corners, you know, their positioning, coming out, guarding the near post, the far post. I think they can do that, but you can't expect goalkeepers now to sort of like suddenly become Ronaldinho. It's like the long throw. You know, Tony Pulis at Stoke got absolutely smashed like when he was at Stoke because Rory Delap, whose son now plays for your team, by the way. Because he used to do long throws, and now it's all the rage. But I can go back to the 1970 Cup final when Chelsea beat Leeds, and Ian Hutchinson did a long throw, and Chelsea scored from it. It's nothing new. I just think we have generations in football. At the moment, we don't have number nines, do we? We don't seem to play with a number nine. And in world football, if you can tell me a good number nine, I'm prepared to listen. But I just, and we blamed Guardiola. Who are we blaming for the state of the side to side, back to back, pass first? You know, let's get in 100 passes. Who do we blame him for it now? They're still trying to blame Guardiola. I don't understand it.
I don't know if it's one person. I think what happens is owners or clubs jump on the bandwagon. When Antonio Conte went to Chelsea and he lost a couple of games and he changed the system, he suddenly went free at the back and let Victor Moses made him look brilliant, and Alonso, and they changed it. And then teams changed. It's almost like, oh, hang on, if he's doing it, I can do it. But you've got to have the players for that. So I don't know if it's like, you know, there's pegs and holes thing. I think you've got to have the players for it before you do it. Or if you've got a system and you go, right, this is how I want my forward to be, go and find one like it. But it's
Is the enjoyment still there, Robbie? I mean, we played a young lad, Ollie Scholes. We played him as an inverted fullback. Now, I know we've had this with inverted wingers for God knows how long. But if you're brought up playing as left back, but he was young, he was a bit devoured of confidence as it was, and he went and put him on the right. And I think myself, and what you're doing, you're making the pitch very narrow. For whatever reason, everyone wants to play narrow in attack and in defence. We give loads of space to every team attacking, coming down the lines. And when we're going forward, we just play narrow. There's no width in the game no more. Well, that's always how you stretch a game. And for me, it's definitely the way you beat an high press is by stretching the game and move the ball quickly. It's just the flair is going out the game. Charlie?
The flair is going out the game. I think that's to do with more, you know, again, we talk about players being instructed to everything they do on the pitch, how to pass, where to stand, how to move, where to, you know, it is mad. But I think, and I always say, I think in today's football, I think the standard of player is better when you go from the top league to the lower leagues. I think the standard's better, but I don't think there's as many world-class players as there once was. And that's, I think, due to the fact that they're just not really allowed to express themselves as much.
Do you know, I was listening to, sorry, Robbie, go on, Robbie.
No, I just got a question. You're right about expressing themselves. So it was a weird question, but where's that come from? Is it a fear? I've written down fear. Is it a fear from clubs of not qualifying for something or money or losing? It's almost like a lot of teams are playing not to lose. Like international football's a lot like that. It's kind of boring. They play not to lose instead of playing to win. Now, I watched our game yesterday against Brentford, and it was a bit like daylight robbery, to be honest. But they played football. It was a cracking game to watch because it was a game of football. It wasn't about trying to keep the ball and do 78 passes in your back line. It was attacking. And really, to be fair to Brentford, they must have gone home and thought, how did we not win that? But that's football. That happens in football. And that's what makes it exciting there. It was a good game. But I watch a lot, but I don't see so many great games of football.
No, I mean, I do agree. Yeah, like.
Yeah, but look, going back to what Charlie said about the players not being there, right? I always remember Alan Sugar when, you know, they went for a stage years ago. You went back to, is football boring? All of us on a Sunday used to tune in. I can't remember that bloke's name. Used to do the Italian football preview, didn't he? Used to sit there with a pair of glasses on a newspaper with a coffee, always in the sun. I think you remember the bloke, I mean? And we all used to watch Italian football, and we knew that if they went 1-0 up, right, the dark arts would come out. Like, you know, you go back to Baresi, you go back to Maldini, or literally all the greatest defenders probably the world ever seen. But most of our players went there. You know, when they wanted to earn a pound, there was no money in the league. Then Sky weren't involved, so that they went to Italy. All of a sudden, then the money changed and it went to Spain, didn't it? And now, because since Sky come in 92, which I think has ruined the game completely for me. Yes, more games on the TV. I think I was looking somewhere the other day. If you want to watch every game, Premiership game that's on TV at the moment, it will cost you 142 quid a month. But why don't we now, right, go down the lower leagues? And I'm not talking about the lower leagues just in the UK. We signed someone called Alan Taylor many moons ago. He was from South. And anyway, scored 2 goals, I think, from the quarterfinals up in every game, scored 2 in the cup final. I was listening to an Arsene Wenger interview the other day with Ian Wright, and they said, who's the player you really wished you signed and missed? You know, And I'm thinking he's going to go, I'll bring this one in and all that. And he went, do you know, it was N'Golo Kante. He said, my best friend coached a team, school kids in Paris. He could not give him away. He said he drove him around all the French teams, blah, blah, blah. And eventually, he said he signed for a third division team in France. Do you think we just, not just us, the clubs and other managers that come in, they're too scared to try and get a player in and develop them, and they would rather buy that product, bring a player in hypothetically from Germany that's going to last 2 years and maybe save their job, because that's the average lifespan of a Premier League manager. Why don't we develop younger players from lower leagues? Because them players are there.
And
I don't think they have the time. I think most managers don't have the time. If you look at the average, I think the average lifespan of a Premier League manager, I think they say is 2 years. And, you know, if you took these days, how, you know, listening to managers and how long it takes to develop a player, I don't think they have the time. I also think, to a certain degree, with the lower league teams, I think that the big clubs especially are quite scared, because if they go and sign, you know, in the summer, if they just say, right, we're going to go and sign, you know, this guy from the Russian league and this guy from the second division Italian, and if it doesn't work, the fans are going to get absolute batter them, aren't they? The fans are going to be on their case, the abuse they're going to get, because then the fans are going to be like, well, what do you expect? You signed a load of players from the lower leagues. And, you know, and how many N'Golo Kantes are there in the lower leagues? There's probably not that many.
We're not going to find out. When he turned up at Leicester, he sort of like banged on, went into one of the trainers of the first team. And they went, over there, son, that's where the kids train, over there. He went, no, like, he signed me. Can't think of his name, the Tinker Man. What do we call the Tinker Man?
Claudio
Ranieri, yeah. Won the league and then got the sack the next year.
Yeah, but that's football now, you see. That's the thing, isn't it? They panic. It's a fear. You're right. With lower leagues, I think there's probably a lot of raw talent. And by what Charlie said, they don't have the time. If you knew you were going to get 5 years in a job and you go, right, but realistically, the first 2, I've got to teach these guys. You can't, you've learned a language. You can't learn that in a week or a year. It takes a hell of a long time. And to become confident to use the skills you've learned. So it probably is time, or do they just, I don't know. I will tell you something. I've got, where we live, as you know, it's a small place, and we've got a local non-league team. And 20 kilometres from where we live is a team, they play in the 4th league in Poland, which is lower than what the conference is, probably, like the level of it. And it's a place that has probably a crowd of 200, right? And I've been helping 2 players because they signed 2 guys from Colombia, right? In this, it's like a village, right? And I've been helping them because no one speaks Spanish. And I asked them, they're 24 years old, and I said, how did you end up here? We're talking about lower leagues. And he went, because in Colombia at 24 years old, there's so much corruption and we're too old. No clubs will even give us a trial. So they've come to Europe just to play. They know they won't make the top level, but one of these guys is probably good enough to play in the 3rd league here, probably like 3rd, 4th division England. He's probably good enough. Will he get the chance? Who knows? But they're taking the risk. So it's developing, isn't it? And giving them a chance. And not many people will.
So is it the fault of the scouting systems then, Robbie, that we're not finding these places?
I mean, I don't know what they're actually, is it the scouting system, or is it, do you remember when a scout would just watch you as a kid or watch a player, and they keep coming watching games of a kid, and then they go, yeah, you know what, we'll give him a trial or have a go at it, you know, let him have a go. I think now a lot of the scouting work is just data. They're just inputting how much, I don't know, percentages. It all becomes like maths and stuff, rather than, I think there's some raw talent there. That's my opinion of it. So they don't get a chance because he doesn't run enough or whatever. And you look at players like Hazard, never used to train, but he'd turn up and score a goal at the weekend.
Yeah, he wasted the money at Real Madrid. They got voted the worst ever signing they ever put in. He went there drinking beer all day long, didn't he?
But for us, you know, it was amazing, and I bring him up.
To be fair, yeah, I mean, with Hazard, you knew he was a world-class player. It just mentality or whatever else. Yeah, I mean, and you're right about the data and stuff. I think Liverpool signed Naby Keita I think purely off of data. No one, like, they not really went, not through the eye test. It was kind of like it was all the data, and they was like, well, yeah, if this is the data, he just looks like a good player.
Yeah.
Do you know, we've got a player at West Ham, and he's been there a while now. He come in, he got a load of goals. At one point, Man United wanted to offer 60 million for him. Was Souček, Thomas Souček. Now, you know these silly bras they wear, the footballers now, these black vests that just about cover the top of their chest, don't they? You know what I mean? He runs over 10 kilometres every game. In every game he plays, he runs more than anybody. So the stat says he's really hard working. And for me, hard work beats talent when talent don't work hard in anything you do in any form of life. And he gets ridiculed at West Ham. You know, the West Ham fans want to. And, I don't want to run this on because this is the first one. So I want to try and keep it to 30 minutes. There's a couple of instances this week with fans, right? And a fan, right? What is your description of a football fan? Is it someone that just goes, or are you a fan if you love the club? You know, my mum, West Ham fan for like 80 odd years, one game in her life, wants to watch every game on the TV. Is there a difference between a fan and a supporter? Or regardless whether you go to a game or not, you are a fan of that club, Charlie?
Yeah, I think what was it? Eric Cantona said you don't choose your football club; it chooses you to a certain degree. And look, I think in today's era, it's different because there are kids who support football clubs because that's who their favourite player plays for. It's a bit of a weird one. It makes no sense to us because we're like, that's wild. But if Erling Haaland went and signed for Real Madrid, all of a sudden Real Madrid have got like a few million more extra fans just because their favourite player's Haaland, whereas that's unthinkable for us. Do you know what I mean? Like when Van Persie signed for Man United, I doubt there were Arsenal fans that was like, oh, I'm now going to go and support Man United. But no, I think for me, a fan, if you love the club, if you kind of ingrain yourself a little bit, I mean, again, I used to watch so much football and highlights and things like that, and I'll watch videos of like the influencers on YouTube and that, and they don't know who certain players are that played for played for Man United or played for Chelsea. And it's like, for me, it's really weird because I'm like, how do you not know who that is? But they just don't really care about the history. Almost,
Yeah, but Charlie, just stop you there. 1 second. Look, we had an incident a couple of weeks ago. Billy Bonds died, right? And for me, an epitome of an old-fashioned football. I was talking to Robbie about the 70, so if anyone wants to watch a game, right, where it's just blood and guts, look at the 1970 FA Cup final. Billy Bonds would come on, within about 5 minutes, he was smothered in mud. Like he gave everything for the club. So he died a couple of weeks ago before a game. Paqueta got off sent in the game. He got absolutely smashed. They reckon he didn't have no respect for Billy Bonds. He didn't know his legacy. Billy Bonds last left West Ham as manager in 1994. He got stabbed in the back by West Ham when Harry Redknapp went behind his back and took the job, right? So let's say in 1994, that's 31 years ago, right? After people that go over West Ham, let's say a quarter, weren't even alive. You know what I mean? And then to see him play 10 years before that. So, yes, I do agree. Like, Billy Bonds would be in any team, in any era for me in a West Ham squad, and he would be the captain. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, as we move on, and like I say, for me, it was Billy Bonds 31 years ago, he left the club. Should the players coming in respect the history of the club and know the history of the club, or they really couldn't care less? They're coming in to get their money, play football, and go. Robbie?
Yeah, I think it can be quite hard because if you grow up watching, there's certain players I liked as a kid, like Mickey Droy. Wouldn't say the best player, but just a great big lump, good, solid defender, or people like that. But someone who's in their 20s is going to never have heard of him. So can we blame them for that? Because I don't think we can. I think this thing about fans and supporters is there's a lot of tourists that go to football games now because clubs want money. Whether we like it or not, it's just how it is now. You've also got this snobbery bit, if you don't have a season ticket, well, maybe I can't afford it, or maybe I don't have time, or whatever. Living abroad is different. You're watching on TV anyway. I do think there's a whole generation of people that probably want to go, but we can't blame them for not understanding the culture that we had 20, 30 years ago. And I don't think it's fair to blame them. What people should be doing instead of arguing with them is talking about Billy Bonds. Now, I know he was and was a great player, and he kind of has respect, and from a lot of people, different clubs, because they remember proper players, Terry Europe last week and all, and some others. And it is sad. But I can't say to my son, you've got to know who that is, because he's going to look up old videos, but they're not going to understand it because it's a different era. So I just think you, as a fan, you should support your team, you watch them, but then if you feel you're being taken for a ride, or maybe the enthusiasm's not as big as it was, because if I don't watch a game, I'll just flick it on YouTube, or I'll get it off the internet somewhere. Whereas when you were younger, you had to stay up to watch Match of the Day. Now 10 minutes after a game, you can get the thing. So it's just a different world. I don't think we can blame them for it. I think we've just got to accept that's how it's going. I never imagined, I'm quite sure you guys didn't, that 20 years ago or 25 years ago, you'd be watching every single game of your team live on TV. You wouldn't have imagined that.
Great. I wish I hadn't. Charlie, what do you think?
I think when it comes to players, look, you would love a player to kind of ingrain themselves in the history and the culture, wouldn't you? Like, and as long as they're playing for your club, you want an absolute, you want them to fall in love. But very few players do. Players will see, look, if another club goes and doubles their money, they're off, because a lot of, and look, a lot of players see it as a job. And, it's like with me, if some other company came along and offered me double the money for the same job I'm doing, am I going to turn it down? Well, no. But look, I mean, as for, look, for us, you ingrained yourself in it from kid, we as fans, we love our club more than most players ever will. But then there are some players that get it. There are some players who want to go into the museum and they want to see all the trophies and the medals, and they want to know about, there's been players who want to know about the Munich air disaster and things like that. I think there was a player years ago, I think he was signed for West Ham, and he made them open the club shop because he wanted to sleep in the top, because he wanted to kind of ingrain himself in it. They're the kind of players you want. But most players, look, if someone else comes along and doubles their money, they're going to be like, well, look, see you later.
So are they mercenaries, these players? Are they money mercenaries who really could not give two bob about the culture and history of a club? Yes or no, Robbie?
Some, not
Charlie's
all,
on.
Yeah, no, for me, no, I don't think they are. Remember, a club will happily sell a player and all to double their money. It's a commodity. So some players, purely want to go around to get money. But I know particularly with my club are going to do it. The minute they get a big offer, I think, well, you know what? I've just made a 50 million profit. Bye. So it's a culture of that. I don't think it's fair to always blame the players. There will always be mercenaries. That's obvious. But like Charlie said,
Robbie, it's business now. You just hit the nail on the edge. You're a commodity. It's not football. It's not football. It's not your local club and your local team anymore. Football has become a corporate business. Roy Keane said it years ago, the Bronze Sandwich Brigade.
It's money, isn't it?
Say, I mean, young players are treated like cattle, really, in a way, aren't they? Because, especially because of these PSR rules, a lot of top clubs these days will happily sell a youngster for 30 mil because it means they can spend more.
Yeah, that's it.
In the transfer market.
Chelsea doing that at the minute anyway, and last year. People like Gallagher.
45 players you let go to start of this season. 45. Sold the hotel back to yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. It's a business thing. It's not football, is it? It's also there's
guys, there's two things I want to get through. I don't want to drag this on. I know because I really appreciate your time. Right, what's gone on in America? I'm a great believer, in human rights. I really am, and I didn't agree with the World Cup going to Qatar. What I've seen over this last week with this, I've not even heard of this ice, if I'm honest with you. I don't follow America that much, but apparently they can go anywhere they want, pick anyone up. If they think they're an illegal immigrant, they can take them, lock them up for a year, no court case, nothing. They shot a young lady this week, Rennie Good. We should always remember her name because I think it will change the face of American politics. Should we boycott the World Cup, and should the fans not go with what's going on in America at the moment? Charlie?
I don't like mixing politics with football. I think they should very much be separate. But I mean, when you look how much FIFA seems to be up Trump's arse, what did they give him? Some kind of peace award? I'm not sure what that was about. I think there's far too much money in a World Cup for it ever to be, forever to be stopped. And look, we can boycott it, but then it just means someone else is going to take your place, isn't it?
And the fans and the safety of all the fans going over there.
Well, people were worried about the safety of the fans in Qatar. It still went ahead. It still happened. It's not going to really change because of America, is it? I mean, I understand the human rights issue, but then, like I said, the World Cup in Qatar still went ahead. They didn't care. So it's going to happen here, isn't it?
I just don't think it should have gone there in the first place, personally, but because it's not a footballing culture. Yeah, it is money, but it's not a footballing culture. If you look at the prices for tickets to that, us three here and between us would struggle to get money to go to that. So a lot of real fans that go, we're talking about real fans going to clubs, West Ham, Chelsea, lower leagues, they're not going to have the money to go there anyway.
No, but then this World Cup isn't just in America; it's in Canada and Mexico as well.
Yeah, well, the Mexican part I think will be great. I like Mexico, but that would be because it's a footballing country. There's a lot of passion. There'll be real fans going. There'll be noise, atmosphere, and all of that. I just think it's a bit farcical. One, it's in 3 countries. England, and we're going to be biased, but they had one World Cup. Why not again? And yet you can throw it to countries that don't even have a footballing background, and there's going to be cock-ups. That World Cup thing that we won last year, games were stopped for 2 hours because there was a big scary cloud in the sky. What? That's not football anymore, is it? It's if you know you're going to have that, why have it there?
No, I agree.
So
I really do agree.
Again, it's money. You're right. TV. I won't be watching games at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know many people that will.
No, I agree. Right, guys. One of just a couple of things, really. Just quickly, right? I'm sorry. I'm
all right.
Well, Robbie is a passionate, don't like Spurs, right? So before we finish, we are going to talk about Spurs. Now, we started off talking about managers, right? And how fickle the fans are, right? Last season, they had Ange Postecoglou, right? Let's attack. Yeah. Let's everybody attack, get front of the ball. He then got 11 serious injuries, and he didn't have 11 first-team players. So he prioritized the Cup. Well, I'm always going to call it the UEFA Cup, by the way, right?
Right.
He prioritized that. He won that, and at the season got the sack. Look at the man. They've had Conte. They've had Mourinho. They've had Pochettino. Like, what do they want? Because after the loss to West Ham, which was a surprise loss to me yesterday, they're calling for what's his name? Thomas Frank said, what is going on with football? Or is it just crazy, like we said? And do you think he deserves to go? Robbie's laughing. You go first.
Oh, God. Well, I switched it over when our game finished yesterday. Found it hilarious. I feel for him a bit because he had a good reputation. He made Brentford into a fairly decent Premier League team. They weren't struggling every year. Can he get his message across? And this goes back to our coaching and being, are the players listening? Also, the club, and we will, it's Spurs fans and we'll have a bit of banter and that. But since they won that cup, they seem to think, we're champions of Europe. Forgetting that them and United last year finished, 15th, 16th in the Premier League.
Yeah, so it was them, United, Tottenham and us, weren't it? Yeah.
So United might change, new manager thing changes it, and they've done better this year. But Tottenham still might win 1 week, might win. They're a cup team, mid-table team. Don't mean it like start an argument with anyone. But they've got to be realistic. Which player from their team would you want at your club? You see, which one would you take? Which one would get into, let's say, City's team or a Madrid or a Barcelona?
Who's the fullback? I like the centre half at the back. What's his name? Van der Ven. I like him.
So there's one. You see, one player that would probably make it into another team. The rest, would you take a punt on them? I doubt it.
Who would you take from West Ham? And don't shout at me, Barry, because he's had the worst season. Charlie, what do you think of Tottenham before we wrap this up?
They're a difficult one, aren't they? I mean, being a United fan, you can't really say much because we've kind of been in similar situation with them for the last couple of years. I mean, look, you never want to lose a cup final, but when we did lose it, I was like, you know, for next year, us not being in Europe is definitely a saving grace in that aspect, because I just knew there was going to be way too many games for that squad to you know, for him to kind of get to grips with that squad. I feel for kind of Thomas Frank, because should he have gone in there? But then, like you say, they've brought in the world-class managers. They've brought in, you know, maybe, you know, a manager that's done well at a previous club who deserved a crack at, let's say, like a, you know, a fairly biggish club. But then if you sack Thomas Frank, well, then who are you bringing in next? Like, there isn't anyone. So then do they go down the, you know, the whole, what other teams are doing now and going, oh, well, you know, who's an ex-player? Well, we'll kind of get them in. You know, the fans will like them straight away because they used to play for us and, you know, they've done well for us and everything else. It's a tricky, it wouldn't surprise me if he got sacked. But again, we talk about time. Should he be allowed time to turn this around? It's an odd one.
It's the whole club thing, isn't it? It's got to be realistic.
Yeah, I agree.
Winning the cup is a distraction from a really poor league season. And it's the same again. They're not better. So can you expect the guy at Conte went there? I remember his rant, and you know, we laugh and stuff, but he was very passionate. And I think it's the only club that he hasn't won a trophy. So you've got a serial winner. Or Mourinho won trophies everywhere, hasn't I think, right? Apart from there.
Well, he got sacked 3 days before the League Cup final against Man City, didn't he? Which was crazy. I mean, the thing is, look, you know, for me, I grew up watching football in the 90s. Tottenham weren't great in the 90s. They kind of, I mean, you know, I know they won a couple of, they won the FA Cup, didn't they? They won a League Cup in, I think, 99. And, you know, so for me, I never really saw Tottenham as kind of this, you know, big club kind of thing. But then, you know, they only really kind of shot up once Pochettino came in and built his own side, and they became a real good side under Pochettino. They was really unlucky not to win nothing, because it really was a good side that they built, but they've just never been able to replicate it.
Yeah, it's money.
No, I agree. I agree. I mean, listen, I think it's fascinating when we're all football fans. I do think we're all too fickle. I'd like to thank Robbie for coming on. I'd also like to thank Charlie. I'd love just to come on once a month. Guys, a couple of things I want to talk about. Robbie's dad ain't been very well recently, and I just want to wish him the best. And no one knows Robbie's mum, right? She's beautiful inside and out, right? And she's been using me as a pin cushion, and she's been like John Cleese this week. She told you about all the arguments she's had at the hospital. I mean, disgraceful from the NHS. So I do want to wish Ray really well. One more thing, guys. Lost someone this week because they couldn't talk to no one. They were suffering from depression and had no one to talk to. So remember, guys, I met some guys in the men's mental health group, and if you ever need help, you know, I'm going to put my email at the bottom here. Please link, and I'll send you just the guy I do. But just depression's a bad thing, and the best thing you can do with anybody is talk to someone. Just please talk to someone. There's always someone you can talk to. Right, guys, before we go, who wins the league? Who goes down? Charlie?
Oh, I think Burnley and Wolves definitely go. Don't know about. And it's looking like West Ham, but you never know. Like that result yesterday might kick them on. Who wins the league? I don't think there's anyone good enough to kind of. I think Arsenal will eventually get over that line. I don't think it'd be as easy as it should be. They should be like 11 points clear. But I've watched them the last 2 weeks and they've been awful. But I do think they'll just hold on enough.
Can you see that one there, Charlie? My wife has stuck a Leeds badge, and above there it says Leeds. Look, so it's going in the swimming pool in a minute. Robbie, who wins the league? Who goes down?
I think Arsenal will win it. They should do. If not, they would do the ultimate Spursy thing if they don't win it, because City have been out of form. Villa are a dark horse in that, but they've got a long way to go yet, still in Europe. And I don't know any Villa fans, so I'd rather they won it because I don't get slaughtered. But I think they will win it now, and City and Villa, and then the fourth place could be United, Liverpool, Chelsea, could be Brentford, who knows. Going down, Wolves are down in my opinion already, Burnley, and I think West Ham will go unless something changes drastically. Because I don't obviously watch a lot of West Ham games, and yesterday was a big win for you. I just don't see a lot of fight in the team. Remember, we spoke months ago about this. Where's your Mr. West Ham player? And I don't think I see a lot of fight in the team. So I think we struggle. But if you could switch place with Spurs, then I wouldn't argue.
I agree, boys. Absolutely fantastic. Listen, guys, thank you very much for coming on. Please like, please subscribe. If you want to write any comments, be respectful. We'll respect any comment. We'll reply to every comment and just write. And if you want to come on, talk to Robbie, Charlie, or myself, just let us know and come on and talk about your team. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Have a great day.
Cheers.